I will be shorting every single rally that comes. I am bearishly biased, and I have high probabilities and high confidence that lower prices will be hit. That is a big statement to start off, but it of course is a continuation of all my previous videos of recent weeks to around a month, where we have been very bearishly biased. This chart has got so much weakness, and I'm of course referring to cryptocurrency. I'll be talking about some altcoins, so if you are an altcoin hodler, well, let's just say it's going to be a very eye-opening video and one that you want to pay close attention to. And even if you are a massive bull, I really think I'm going to give you some big food for thought. I'm giving you a very contrarian viewpoint here of why I'm so bearish. On top of that, I have been the biggest stock market bull for the whole of this year. I've been literally making comments like, just wake up. I just wake up and I'm buying, non-stop buying. I've been so bullish. It's been crazy. And that has been a direct, direct inversely correlated to Bitcoin, which I've been much more bearish on. But, for the stocks, I've been super bullish, but I finally started to take profit, finally started to take some longs on the VIX, the volatility index. So, this should be spitting some big warning signs of what's about to come. And, that's what I want to be covering in today's video. I want to start off with a little bit of context building, reminding you that my bearish bias has not just started today at $103,000, right? We've had this bearish bias since the highs around $125,000, $126,000, where I closed all of my swing longs went into full shorts. That was the starting warning signs, and how it has played out so nicely. So with that said, let's come over and build up a little bit more context, and then I'll explain to you what we are and what I'm looking at next. I want to give it in a very honest, transparent way. My ideal of making this video is to help you. I'm not trying to deceive, hide, scare, just honestly giving you my opinions on the market, right? So with that said, let's recap what we got going on here. So, of course, everything started from $126,000. Of course, we have those shorts still open from $126,000. That was really simple, a move onto the 1618 Fibonacci extension. It linked very closely to an Elliott wave count I had. And for me, I am a very big Elliott wave trader. And how that links locally is within this range that we're in right now, we also had an ABCDE triangle, and within that triangle there was the potential of getting a larger move to the upside with a more impulsive wave, but that failed as we done a fake out of this high and then the confirmation of back into the value area high, and really confirmed that we had actually formed still a triangle, yes, but ending with an X wave, where we've then got a bigger WXY underway, which could also be viewed as an ABC, but all of it pointing towards lower prices. So it's just so you can visually understand this. This is from a members live stream that I had going on the 27th of October. So still the triangle, but we obviously add a Elliott wave viewpoint of this coming down for the bigger Z wave 2. And on top of that, if you want to just view it as a simple range, you also had a very simple fake out of the range high there at $116,000, which of course we were talking through the short trades of why that was a short trade as well. And I know of course some people taking that short, which was lovely to see, but whether you view it from the Elliott wave perspective, wave X for lower, or whether you view it as a range, after that fake out of the high, the one and only trade that you're taking at that range high is short trade, or it should be if you understand how the champions trade. Okay, so of course, moving on from there, I've been not just bearish today, right? We've been having this bearish bias in several streams, several videos, even here on YouTube. I've been saying the only trade I'm interested in is the shorts. I've not been coming in and making videos where I'm super bullish and looking for long. I've been really looking to take these short trades on the rallies, and I just say that because it's very important that you understand I'm not just flipping bearish today. Anyway, I digress. And the last thing that I want to mention here is actually, it's the order flow. I want to just mention the order flow very quickly because this is something that we're seeing again here. And this is really pointing towards the last few hours within this local range. And it's something that we have been seeing time and time again over the past month of this consolidation. And it's where we see these massive longs opening. So you can see here earlier this morning, we saw 14 million new longs. And then just while I was doing my live stream this morning for the members, we saw another 8 million new longs open. And it's just this pattern that we've been seeing very regularly within this range with the order flow. Massive amount of longs opening, and they are essentially just adding fuel to the fire. So when you see all these longs opening, it's essentially the long squeeze. You know how everyone talks about a short squeeze, people are shorting and price keeps going up, or it's those shorts getting squeezed. The inverse is happening here, and it's where a lot of longs are opening, but they are opening doing a very bad job of pushing up price. Actually, a lot of the time they've been causing bearish divergences in the order flow CVD, and it's just essentially a long squeeze. So we are moving down, you know, with the fuel added in here, that a lot of people are still bullish. And that is not just me saying, oh yeah, a lot of people are still bullish, but you look in the order flow, you are seeing multi-million, massive longs open over the course of this period, right? So this is nothing that new that we're just seeing here. Look at this, 17 million new longs, 8 million new longs, 13 million new longs, 7 million new longs, like here another 17 million new longs. You know, you hear 24 million new longs. Like, this is not me just randomly saying, oh yeah, everybody's bullish. Look at this. Tell me where you see the shorts opening, and now tell me where you see the longs opening. If you understand order flow, this is all new longs. 17 million, 7 million, 13 million, 17 million, 8 million, 8 million. Like, sorry, that's a decrease in open interest, but you see this is the majority of the market is still full bullish. And I know sometimes people can think, oh, a lot of people seem bearish. You know, it's because you're just looking at chart champions, right? You understand the majority of the market is still ultra bullish. And we see that in the order flow. That is not just a random, oh, guys, everybody's still, but the order flow only shows these massive new longs opening. So that for me has been a big warning sign. Primarily, why? Because they've done a very poor job of pushing up price. Right? If we already are bullish, it should not be the case. So, you know, and then I wanted to mention this in terms of where there's been the first local short opportunity. Of course, we had this trend line that flipped into resistance yesterday. And if you watch the live trading stream that we done on YouTube yesterday, Severin was talking through the opportunity of the short here. And then after the YouTube live stream finished, he went live for the members during the live trading and confirmed that short trade, which has now played out wonderfully. And by the way, this is his live trade. So he does live trading streams, and you can just see his P&L curve. And this is all trades taken on stream, nothing hidden, nothing added. All trades can be verified on the stream. Like, this guy is absolutely crushing it, and that's the short he called yesterday. And well, of course, it's played out absolutely wonderfully. But yeah, well, I just had to mention that because that is a shout out in itself. But yeah, I want to explain now, moving on to what and why am I looking at next? Where are the big targets? What can we be looking for? Of course, I have to say not financial advice, but you know, what will I personally be looking for? Where I have, again, a very big bearish bias. Well, ultimately, as we've done a fake out of the range high, what can we be looking for? You know, as I mentioned here, well, we can look for the range low, right? So even though I am bearish, I will still not be scared to take long. So I'm not going to be scared to take a long if we get a very good reaction, right? For me, as you can see, I've got alerts set, I'm ready and waiting. What I do when that alert goes off, the alert goes off, I will check for the visual reaction on TradingView, and then I will move over to the order flow. This is where I will really flip over to this template, which is a volume template. What that means is each one of these candles is built off, not off of a time, but it's built off of volume. Okay, so this is currently on a 10 million volume chart. So every 10 million, I get a new candle form. So I will just really simply be able to see, okay, what's the open interest doing? What is the how much volume are we getting here? How many trades are happening here? And what is the time to form those candles? This for me is just key information that, you know, you're looking at this in the seconds, and, you know, you make that decision of, okay, have we formed a good enough reaction, which is giving a long trade, or the alternative is there is no reaction and thus there's simply no trade to be had. Okay, and just so you can visualize and understand this, this is what we were looking at here, where we took that short at $116,000, right? The good reaction was good enough. Well, this is clearly a bearish reaction, right? A wick onto the level. In another world, let's say, where price went above this level, flipped it into support and got continuation, well, then clearly there's not a reaction at that level, right? So if price had went through, closed above, back test, continuation, you of course are not going to be shorting that, are you? If you understand trading anyway, and you understand what we teach, you would not be shorting that. But you would short, right, if you get this perfect wick swing failure pattern reaction, right? That was a short trade. So it's the same theory at the lows. You know, if we come down to this level and we get a perfect reaction, really nice type of swing failure pattern, then of course that gives us a long trade. But if we do what we didn't see here, and we just lose the level, maybe even get a back test and confirmed weakness, well, then of course we're not going to be taking longs at the range low. And I think this is like the major advantage I think that you have when you learn with Chart Champions, is that we teach you ways of actually taking proper trades. A lot of people don't really have a proper strategy. They don't really know how to enter their trades. They would maybe just have the alert and think, well, okay, yeah, I'll take the long now. It's hit my level. You shouldn't really just be randomly buying because a level's been hit. You really need the confirmation. You need an entry trigger. This is a very important factor to taking good trades and avoiding. Okay, this is maybe the biggest factor, avoiding taking the bad trades. Okay, because a lot of people lose because they take so many bad trades, which at first you might even think it's a good trade, but you're missing the confirmation of the entry trigger, and then you wonder why you keep on taking good trades at high confluence, but giving no entry trigger. Of course, you're going to keep losing way more trades than what you should. And then that's the advantage you're waiting for the confirmation, right? But yeah, so for me, that is a very, 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 very interesting zone for a long trade down towards $100,000, right? I've been ready and waiting and planned for this since we put in the highs up here. So, this for me, of course, is not a zone that I'm going to, of course, I think some people are very scared. They're very bearish. I can say I am bearish, but I'm not scared, and I'm not so scared that I'm not scared, first of all, but second of all, I'm not so bearish, and that means I'm not going to look for the long here. No, the one and only trade I will look for down here is the short. Oh my God, is the long. I take that back. The one and only trade I will look for down here is the long, just as the one and only trade I looked for up here was the short, right? When we're at range high, we look for the shorts, even though, of course, we could have pumped to new all-time highs. Well, we got a bearish reaction, so the one and only trade is a short. Well, down here, yeah, things are looking bearish, but at the end of the day, the one and only trade we're looking for is the longs. And so I think that's for me very certain of my next long trade opportunity. Of course, the shorts, we still got this zone of around the value area low to the point of control. Big resistances. There's nothing else to say. They're very, very big resistances. I think it comes down to, I really, really, really hope that you can start to understand. Let's say you're in no short trades at all. You're holding a bunch of altcoins right now. You are going to be probably losing a lot of money. Let's be honest. You're probably losing a lot of money. So how can you avoid this? Well, I really hope it's something that you can learn from. So if you are getting wrecked right now, difficult, yes, but you have to start to make changes. You cannot just continue in this cycle of getting wrecked time and time and time again. What's the biggest mistake probably people made? Well, when we rose to $126,000, what were most people doing up there? They were bullish. What were we? Going full shorts, short and chill, shorting the top of the bull market, waiting for large drops, literally fully closing long trades from $50,000 and going full shorts with all the massive profits, right? This is not to brag. This is to show you we help you avoid those mistakes. You start to see me closing longs from 50K and entering shorts, closing longs from 80K, entering shorts, closing major longs, going into shorts, keeping shorts open. Where I'm going with this is the biggest mistake people make is they're hodling and they're hoping. But, you see what we've done here? It's not hodling and hoping. It's closing longs at resistance and then going short. So if you're in no short trades right now, if you are getting wrecked, I hope the number one lesson you can learn here is, well, while everybody's euphoric and bullish up at the highs, that is the time where you should be at least taking profits. Secondly, looking for the head shorts. Okay. And of course, I make that sound a lot more easier than what it is. Okay. It's not easy to do that, but that's where you can have like my guidance, right? Of course, if you start to see this guidance start mid 7th of October, we'll look at the 7th of October where we were closing the longs going into shorts. So I will show you. 7th of October, we were literally trading around $124,000. So, then a few days later, we had this massive move to the downside. So yeah, it all comes down to having the plans, okay, whether it's range bound trading, whether it's Elliott waves, whether it's based off of the order flow. There are definitely, whether your strategy is just what stand you're doing, there was definitely I just say this for the final time. I know right now a lot of people are going to be scared, and really it's unfortunate because I would not be shorting at $103,000. Even though I'm bearish and I expect lower, that does not equate to, okay, I'm going to take a short now. So if you are not in a short, very unfortunate, but you are going to have to wait for a rally to short. It's just not a good strategy to short at the lows. And of course, it can go lower, but I mean, it's not a good strategy to short when you're already massively down. Again, when are the times to look for shorts? It literally is when you're approaching the highs of the range. Now you're approaching the lows of the range. It's just, I would just say this is not a good time to short. Again, I do think lower comes, but in terms of opening new shorts down here, that's not a good strategy. And it's all about having a good strategy, high probabilities. So yeah, that was just a quicker summary video. I do have another live stream. I've already done a live stream for the members this morning. Okay, and now I'm going to do another live stream as soon as I end this video for the members. So yeah, we're doing a lot of live streams. Of course, we got the live trading, we got the event coming up. I've just got so much stuff for the members. So if you want to get involved in that, you know where to do it, chartchampions.com. And really, this is the place where you're going to transform your trading. Transform it. Okay, if you actually want to start doing well, start educating yourself with the right people. Chart Champions is your one-stop shop. You do not need anything else. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed. Thank you ever so much. And I think that was probably one of the most epic calls you're ever going to see. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you ever so much. And yeah, cheers, everybody. Thank you, and goodbye.